precious blue oasis in the vacuum desert of deceiving darkness. I once woke up in an altered perceptual setting, at the summit of knowledge and the pit of fear, through space and time and the deceptive double standards, interpreted in 3D and sparkling bright colors. Had this all been real, or was it all just a dream? It occurred to me that a passenger on a plane once told me he had made this great voyage, a mind-blowing travel. Could this have been a similar experience? When I was ready to embark, I was already back. It only took a fragment of a second. But once I was back, it seemed like I had spent 10 days there. One specifically surprising experience was the last day of my visit, when I was walking through a park of a university with beautiful trees and fresh air, where youngsters were hanging around and doing the things youngsters do. There were students selling self-made jewelry to finance their studies, so I decided to support them and bought a beautiful bracelet with paisley motifs on it. All of a sudden, a group of them spoke to me as I was walking in the direction of the main building. "Are you going to attend the lecture today too?" I told them I wasn't from around their area, but they heavily insisted that I should accept their invitation. I happily followed them, for it seemed to be a rare lecture of a well-known yet very controversial professor in their nation. Every student was thrilled, and they just couldn't stop talking about him. I was already curious about this scandalous philosopher. We entered an enormous auditorium, almost like a rock stadium, where this old little man was standing in the middle of it all, with his face projected on a huge video screen, and he sure did lecture. Kierkegaard had nothing on it. "I expect some of you are going to be slightly shocked by my views, but hey, one isn't a real thinker if his thoughts haven't landed him in trouble yet. And trouble I have known, like the wheel is ever turning, as long as the kinetics can allow, always coming back to the same point at a different moment. Universal history repeats itself infinitely in the future, and beyond, in one way or another. Metaphysically speaking, there are only half a dozen motives and actions and an equal amount of motives and reactions. The remnants are mere tendencies to circumstances of chaos, universal randomness, and interstellar coincidence. In our case, we also have the inexorable law of the jungle, the survival of the fittest, or should I say, the survival of the shrewdest. We're in a constant war zone. The urge of survival is an art that never ends, complexly advanced in such a little time frame. We are physical beings bound to the laws of physics, but foremost we remain bound to our inner instincts. Although we're about to be genetically and digitally improved in the near future with the slow process of genetic engineering, scientists will be able to increase the complexity of our DNA and improve the human race. And the rise and use of artificial intelligence already features in many ethical debates. But the human mind is not yet ready to comprehend it all, limited by forbidding cultures, domesticating greed, supremely commanded and fooled by its own ignorance and desires. It is seized between contemplating paradoxes and primitive savagery. We are mutated crazy monkeys with a highly developed brain, but we still remain crazy monkeys. We are not ready to face the truth, for it would be unbearable to eradicate established common myths in a conditioned mindset. Each and every one of us has been born in a certain frame, a prevailing setting of values, political views, socioeconomic esteems, moral codes, religious beliefs, and family standards. Most people tend to forget that their view of life in general is not natural, it is not ineluctable. It's only the product of the current societal context, which itself is a product of its own past, of technological, political, and socio-economic development. Few are those who envision their own situation critically, who can break themselves free from framed views of reality, accepting the lightness of being, accepting the randomness, and melting with the essence of the universe to reach illumination is an extremely unglamorous, painful, and cruel process. Some know, but prefer to play ostrich, which is even worse than those who are blocked by the fear of the unknown. They are holding on to their myths with reader loyalty, solemnly praying for passing delusions. Does the lie imitate life, or does life imitate the lie? Human history, as it is taught in schools around the planet, is inherently subjective, for it has millions of alternative chronicles and portraits that have been, be it not deliberately, altered or omitted by whatever purpose or cause. All of this has major consequences and is still guiding so much of the order of today, quietly laying underneath the still water, hidden in plain sight. So the unaware take everything for granted as it is, not being worried by deeper dangers, not caring for biological well-being, not worrying about pollutional impacts, passing on their views to their children without realizing how brainwashed they really are. And so they continue to feed this artificially constructed consumerist community, which isn't ruled by a particular group emerging from a sectarian conspiracy, but rather by a multinational elite held together by mutual goals and common interests. Becoming aware consists in so much more than being able to or not. It's a state of mind, not one of knowing, but one of learning. The majority will judge those who have raised awareness. They would label them in various ways. We have plenty of examples throughout the course of mankind. Dreamers, outcasts, painters, poets, witches, rebels, gypsies, bohemians, visionaries, inventors, writers, and other great minds. The human mind is still not prone to tolerance and has always shown its aversion towards differences and upsetting innovations. Many think they may have an answer to everything, so full of their views, full of themselves, the epitome of creation, yanking each other's chains. We and the others. Human nature at its most metabolic. But no one is omniscient, and that is exactly what makes the questioning so interesting, for there is no wrong in questioning the human condition. This is a very interesting approach. The Greeks already thought about that. The more I know, the less I know. The philosopher stopped at a little side table to take a sip of his coffee, coughed discreetly, and moved back to the speech desk to resume his lecture. I am not an archaeologist, so I might be a year off or so, but they think the planet is about 4.6 billion years old. Life started roughly 3.8 billion years ago, and we have been here for about 200,000 years, or at least in the form that comes closest to the creatures we are today. So our story is relatively new, and we're really still all guessing. What made the spark that ignited the flame? Just guessing. Where does it all go to? Guessing. All we do know is that the universe is ever-changing and ever-moving, like a warped confessor to the guardians of death, walking that thin line between creation and destruction. We should all be thankful and grateful to walk this planet, yet materialistic goals do get in the way. We aren't capable for the moment to give Earth what it has given us, precious life. We should act all together, observe our cosmos and our humble place in it. We need a revolution of the minds, a shift of the paradigms. The train has left the station and is running faster and faster, and one day will no longer be able to be stopped, unless we act together as one. Humans rule the earth, so it's our responsibility to take better care of it, and especially of each other. For all we have, know, and love is right here on this planet, a precious blue oasis in a vacuum desert of deceiving darkness, and bang! A gunshot resonated throughout the auditorium. The cold, aggressive noise went through every attendee's spine. The old professor's knees bended while grabbing his chest with an awful sneer on his face. Panic ruled at the auditorium, and people started screaming and pushing everyone around to reach the exit doors. The professor had fallen on the ground and seemed to be bleeding severely, not moving anymore. This was not only an assault on a person, it was a statement. As I stood up, my head started spinning, and I remember I never felt so dizzy, and then nothing but twilight. I woke up, mumbling to myself, it all must have been a bad dream. But then I woke up again. I went downstairs to the kitchen to make some coffee. As I turned on the radio and took a mug out of the closet, I noticed a colorful little bracelet on the kitchen table.